Welcome back to the I Drink From Skulls podcast. It's your host, Matt Smith here. And today's guest, we have the amazing Logan Graff. Logan, welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you, my friend. Glad to be here.
For those that don't know, you probably must be hiding under a rock, but Logan is the co-founder of a business called Crest Exteriors, which has now been merged and acquired by Apple Roofing. Insane numbers and the growth that Logan's been able to produce. They became a top 45 roofing company, and now with Apple Roofing, potentially a top 10 roofing company.
Let's go. I drink from skulls. Drink from the skulls of my enemies.
Logan, welcome to the show, mate.
Hey, thanks, man. We're glad to be here. We're really glad to be here, Matt.
Appreciate to have you. Now, who the hell is Logan Graff?
Well, I'll jump right in. My name's Logan Evan Graff. I was born a Hoosier. I was born in Evansville, Indiana. My dad was from the Midwest. My mom was from Fort Worth, Texas. Became a Texan before my first birthday. So I'm a Texan, a native Texan is what I say. I was raised in a suburb in northern DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth area. Grew up somewhat, middle class, and did the whole split family thing. My parents split up when I was younger. I was a little bit of a rowdy, rambunctious kid, got kicked out of every daycare for biting, and found my way out of trouble a little bit through grade school, middle school. Didn't finish high school, but I jumped into, what I thought was the best thing for me at the time, which was being an adult. I was young, 16, 17, knew everything like most 16 and 17-year-olds do, and got into the workforce. I began my adult career, if you will, in phone rooms and on the telephone, from timeshare sales and appointment setting in that industry over to commercial collections industry. Spent about 15 years in that industry. That was business to business inside sales. Started as a phone room warrior. You can imagine, phone rooms like the movie Boiler Room and Wall Street and things of that nature. We were offering a contingency-based service to go chase down people that wouldn't pay their bills on time to businesses. And it was B2B collections. So it was rather aggressive. That's an unregulated industry. So it's very similar to roofing because there was a lot of competition. Ended up owning my own collection agency, sold that to a company in Richardson, worked for them for 5 years. Believe it or not, it was some of the most unique and craziest and best years of my life. Throughout that time frame, I became independent. Ended up falling in love with a beautiful woman, my wife, Lindsay Graff, now of 16 years.
Congratulations.
We have two beautiful, thank you. She's my rock. We have two beautiful children, Cole and Kate. Nice cup, man. Cole and Kate. Cole is 11. Kate is 8. And we now live in Prosper, Texas, still north of DFW. Spent a lot of time in this area in my life. My wife and I started dating when she was still in college. I had moved to Austin for another phone room job, and she was going to school down there. We knew each other from grade school and high school. And funny enough, her and my business partner Sam lived on the same street together, and so we had mutual friends growing up. We knew each other for a long time. I wasn't mature enough for Lindsay to date me in high school, so it took me a while, and she finally gave me the opportunity when she was in college. And married in 2006. Our first child was born in 2011.
Wow.
And then our daughter was born in 2014. Shortly after that is when I made the switch to roofing.
Wow.
Left the collection agency business. That was a very fruitful business. I tell everyone that's where I got my education, and that's true. Our roles at that company on a daily basis, we're communicating with CEOs or CFOs or credit managers, directors of credit, VP of finance, and getting them to talk to us about their problems, which they never had any problems, right? But once they would open up to us, our job was to close them to give us the business, and we would go collect the money, charge a fee, and we would earn commission as sales reps to bring those collection accounts in that we were able to get collected. So I learned a lot about business. I learned a lot about different industries because it doesn't matter what industry you were in. If you used U.S. currency or Australian currency for that matter, if you were a business, you needed money and people weren't paying, we could go find that solution for them. I departed the final company that I worked for just on a small disagreement, no big issues, but I wanted to do something again independent. And I had a very structured non-compete agreement. So I had to get out of that industry for a year. And that's when I knocked on my buddy Sam's door and said, hey, I need a job for a year. And he gave me that opportunity. And, heck, it's been 7.5 years since then, and dang, nearly 8 years. I'm sorry. And we're.
Yeah, wow.
That's me in a
I
nutshell.
love that. I can see how the education and the apprenticeship in the collection space has served you guys so well. So you mentioned you're a family man. You're looking for an opportunity. You went and spoke to. Was Sam a friend at that point? You guys grew up together, yeah?
Yeah, we grew up in the same town, and he was a licensed insurance adjuster, going out and doing adjustments for storm claims. And so half the year he would be on the road, storm chasing, and on the other side working for the insurance company. And so he gained his education and his knowledge. He had an accounting degree from Texas Tech, and then he was, chasing storms as an adjuster forever. And that's where he gained a lot of his knowledge. And so he had the bright idea one day of starting another roofing company, and he did that. I was able to join about 6 months later. I just started as a sales rep. I didn't know a thing about roofing. I was scared to get on roofs, like everybody is the first time you climb up a ladder. But was a creature of habit, had a wife and 2 babies at home, and a mortgage and a truck payment and bills like the rest of the world that had to be paid. And I needed a job to bridge that non-compete. And my original goal was to go start another collection agency. I know that business well. I miss that business because it was never dull. Roofing is right up there too. But we found a way to make roofing work really well for us. And so I've stuck with it. And, having a partner and partners in this business has been the biggest blessing in my entire life.
Wow, some great insights there, my man. Let's focus on your time a little bit with Sam and Crest Exteriors. Is that right? So it was a startup was that 2016?
He started it in August of 2015.
Gotcha. So Crest, essentially a startup at that point, and you were starting in a brand new industry. Whilst you had a great base, but roofing was completely foreign to you. The end result was that Crest ended up being one of the top, 45th on the list of top roofing companies. So insane growth in that period. But no doubt there was some shaky times at the start with your family life and everything else. How did you handle the fact that you're going into a brand new industry in probably the most competitive market in the US? How did you guys approach it?
Good question. When I started, I didn't know the ins and outs of roofing, but that also means I didn't know the things that could scare some people away. I knew that the first step in getting somebody to buy a roof was a sales approach. A sales transaction had to take place. And communication is one thing that I pride myself on. I'm a great communicator, whether it's on the phone or over email or in person. And I learned that in collections. We had to talk to people on a consistent basis to gain trust and respect and build a relationship. So I didn't have any of the fear that some people might have if they were going to start in roofing today. Yeah. So sometimes it was we would just get lucky and be in the right place at the right time. And then other scenarios we were making our bed so we could lay in it. I spent the first few months trying to learn as much as I could about what makes a roof, and what does insurance paperwork mean, and why do they pay this and why wouldn't they pay that? That's really 2 of the most important factors in the business, is understanding the insurance claim process and understanding, what goes into a roof system in itself. I didn't know shit about it. Okay. Excuse my language. All I knew was people had an issue. Their roof had a problem. I could get that problem solved. So my goal was to go out and meet people, gain some trust, gain some opportunity, and bring that customer in the door. And we had, the back end of the office, if you will, that could solve everything else. Get the insurance claim resolved, get the job built, do it the right way, and make money. There's plenty of money in this stuff if you do it the right way. Some people seem to try and overcomplicate it. It's not that hard.
Yeah, right. I love that you shared that you started with the basics, and by understanding the homeowner or the prospect and the actual process itself. Do you think a lot of sales reps and roofing companies and contractors, for that matter, sort of skip over that and they're really more focused on trying to make money and sell? Is that something you've seen?
I do. I think a lot of people get into this business for the wrong reasons. Whatever you're going to do with your life, whether you're going to be in roofing or you're going to flip hamburgers or you're going to, build buildings or whatever you decide you want to do in life, you've got to find out the reasons why you want to do it.
Yeah.
And money is important. Zig Ziglar says it's up there with oxygen. You need it to live. It is important, but that can't be your only passion. So truth be told, my first year in the business, I was just trying to make enough money to not have to dip into savings. And on the side, I was planning on going back to collections. Yeah. And I had that in my head for 9 months or so. I started April the 10th or so of 2016. And I had a plan. As soon as my non-compete was up, I was going to open a corporation, create an entity, go get an office, and start a new collection agency. That non-compete was very firm, and I made that agreement. I wanted to honor that agreement. And so I knew there was no screwing around with that until a specific date. But I had a business plan. I knew exactly what it was going to cost to go open that business. I knew exactly how long it was going to take before we turned a profit. And I knew exactly what it was going to take to grow that business from a startup to where I wanted it to be. My passion in collections was holding people accountable. Yeah. I'm held accountable year after year to pay taxes and to pay my bills on time. And so I had a passion for helping our customers hold their customers accountable. So I found passion in that. When I got into roofing, I found passion in helping people. People need help. And you said something that got my attention. The DFW market in roofing. It's overly saturated, has been for a while, partially because of consistent weather events, partially because of the economic growth here. They're building homes and structures, and it's just nonstop. They're building thousands and thousands of new properties every year in the DFW market. It's just getting bigger and better, in my opinion. So that bred more competition. There was a lot of good roofing companies here in DFW, still are a lot of good ones. And, people would go and have success at a company. And I'm sure this is happening in any market. It happened in the freaking collection agency business. People go work for someone, they make good money, and they say, you know what? I want to make what the owner's making. I can do this on my own. And some of them are successful, some of them are not. The ones that are not, they have, in my opinion, they have their passion in the wrong spot. If your sole drive to get into roofing is for the money, you shouldn't do it. If you can get into this business to help people solve problems, be a business of integrity, do the right thing even when nobody's looking, and you're going to take lumps on the head. But when you do shit that way, you get more business that falls into your lap than you can even handle. And so that is not jumping ahead here, but that's what expedited our growth. Not just taking care of customers, but taking care of the people. Our employees are what is this business today. The people that are employed at this business, that's what makes the business what it is today. It's not me. It's not Sam. It's not Marcus. It's not Dustin. It's not our other leaders and other executives. It's the people that are out there taking care of customers. If we take care of our people, they will take care of our customers, and that takes care of the company. The rest is pretty easy. So
many nuggets.
I hope that answered the question. Yeah. I kind of got on a tangent there. But
love tangents. I'm all with you. And I'm going to focus on the rapid growth that you've experienced in a minute. I want to go back just a little bit here and unpack something you said before. 9 months into your journey, you were still focused. You were going to go back to the collection business, but something happened, something changed. What was that? What made you say, you know what? I think roofing's for me.
I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's my partner, Sam. I basically said to him, hey, I'm going back to collections. Here's my business plan. Here's how much it costs to start up. Do you want to invest? Do you want to be a partner in this business? And he took home the business plan, and he's one of the smartest guys I've ever met in my life. Another reason why I'm partners with him. But he's a studier. If he doesn't know something, he will go learn about it and stay up all night reading and studying about something and figure it out. And he's done that in a few different ways. So I pitched him my business plan, and I think he came back Monday and said, hey, we need to sit down and have a talk. I was like, great, let's go. Let's do this. Let me tell you more. Let me tell you about how we're going to grow. Yeah. And he said, I'm not willing to let you leave this company. Let's put a partnership together. And he offered me sweat equity in the company with no capital investment. And most people would take that on the spot, but I had to posture. I had to say, that's a good idea. Let me think about it.
Yeah.
And so that was the turning point for me. That's how I changed my mind. And going backwards a little bit, a lot of our good salespeople at the time, they could go out and sell a really good job, and then we could build it. We would build it fast. We were liquid. We've always prided ourselves on staying liquid in this business, because there's only two reasons a customer can get away with not paying. They either die or we haven't built the job yet. So as soon as a customer would sign with us, we would build the job, and we would, chase the money. We would chase insurance money, or we would, the money wasn't the first priority. And some people may say we are fools for doing that. I would argue and let our numbers speak why that's wrong. But so the sales guys couldn't collect their money at all. They were really bad at collecting money. And I came from a background where if you're in sales and you can't ask for money, then you should get out of sales, period. If you have a product and a service that you believe in and you think somebody should buy it, then price should never be a factor, and asking for money should never be a factor. So I was helping the company collect money. Before I started, there was a big tornado in DFW, the Christmas of 2015, like 2 days after. There was a large tornado that ripped through Rowlett, Texas, Rockwall, Texas, Sunnyvale, Texas, which is east of the major metroplex. And he had about a dozen on the sales force, and they went out there and signed up a whole bunch of jobs, built a whole bunch of jobs, and tied up a whole lot of capital, 7 figures worth of capital that was his own capital that had gotten tied up in those jobs. And so, things were getting a little bit nerve wracking. And so we had to put a hardcore press on collecting money. And we had success with that. But some of the guys they'd have troublesome customers that didn't want to come off their deductible, or got insurance money and got sticky fingers, or had amnesia, or whatever the case may be. So I was able to help that. So I think part of that influenced Sam's decision to say, hey, let's become partners. And I was a process-oriented person in collections. We used a CRM. We had lead development. We had customer follow-up requirements. We had, checks and balances in that regard. And so I can remember my first day coming in. I was like, hey, I'm going to start. What CRM are you using? And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, well, how are you keeping track of your customers and who we're doing what for? And he's like, oh, you see, we have these manila folders here, and you fill out the name. And I was like, what the fuck? Manila folders? Come on, dude. It's like you're in the Stone Ages. I was like, we need a CRM. That day he Googled roofing CRM, and AccuLinks popped up, and he swiped his credit card that day, and we were in AccuLinks right away. Still are to this day. So as we approached that end of the year, he came back to me and countered my offer with an offer of his own that was very generous. Sam's the most generous guy I've ever met in my life, and I'm very grateful for him as a partner for so many reasons other than this one. But, I went home and told my wife, and she was happy with what had been taking place thus far. She had known Sam and had a trust with him as well. And so it just made sense. And we put buy-sell agreements together. We put a very structured contract together for our partnership. A business partnership is like a marriage. And if you go into these things with the understanding of how you're going to get out of them, if you ever want out of the business relationship, they end up working out so much better. I haven't been in any other partnerships prior to that, but I had seen a whole bunch of them fail. And what was convenient and really cool about Sam is the things he was really good at, I wasn't. And the things I was really good at, he wasn't. Like if a customer owed us money, he was not the guy to pick up the phone and call them. It wasn't going to end well. But when it came to understanding the insurance process and how to do that, I was naive to that. When it came to understanding how a roof system is built, I was naive to that. So I always have represented our business relationship as yin and yang. We were a perfect match, and the things he was really awesome at, I suck at. And the things I was really awesome at, he was not so good at. So it worked well. And we hit the ground running really hard, Matt. That's another topic. But
well, I'd love to unpack that a bit further. There's so many nuggets there. But you did hit the ground running and experienced rapid growth. What were some of the things that you'd love to share about that journey and the big wins and the struggles too.
The struggles were somewhat consistent. The struggles were getting salespeople to, follow our proven process. We had a process on how we sell a job, how we build a job, how we collect a job, basically a roadmap. And if we would give that information to a salesperson, we would expect them to do it without having to be managed. So that was troublesome from time to time. Most of the team members, 70, 80% of them would follow suit. But there's an 80-20 rule, and you've heard it before. 80% of your sales can come from 20% of your team, and vice versa. Most good salespeople come with a little bit of baggage, and myself included. I wasn't always the easiest salesperson to be an employee or to be managed. And so that was some of the struggles. Some of the other struggles we had were distributors and, large client opportunities. Distributors didn't want to give us a bunch of credit because we were like actual credit terms because we were new. They thought we were a blip on the radar. We spent a lot of time right before social media advertising for roofing became cool. We spent a lot of time on that. And, everybody everybody had a Facebook and everybody was on social. We just started posting all the shit we do on a daily basis on social. And, it was boring to some, but it was exciting to us. We would talk about our culture. We created and trademarked our hashtag Crest Hustle. That came from a long freaking day, one day with a long month of us busting our asses. And we met back at the office, Sam and I, one day. And I was like, man, we busted our asses today. We were just talking about our wins, and man, we were tired. Knuckles are dragging the ground. And he's like, man, we hustled today. I was like, we sure did hustle. And he looked at me and said, Crest Hustle. And I was like, dude, I like that. And so we got bracelets made and T-shirts made, and that was our hashtag. That was our thing. And so I'm leading that in. It was a struggle because people started laughing at us and making fun of us and like, oh, Crest Hustle, you are so great, And still to this day, we joke around with some people about that, And that was a struggle, man. We're men, we're humans, but we also have, we have feelings too. I don't want to sound like a cornball, but we took a lot of flack. A lot of people were like, oh, nobody will remember who y'all are in a year from now. Get out of here. Our distributors wouldn't raise our credit limits. We needed to build more jobs. We had insurance paperwork, checks in hand, and customers that were ready for us to roof their jobs. And the distributors wouldn't give us higher lines of credit. They would start us at $50,000 in a month. And if we reached the max, they wanted it paid off before they would sell us another shingle, which is understandable. Coming from the background I was in, that's super understandable. Sam was able to make a few phone calls and get some meetings with some people's bosses, and we would go sit down with them. And we opened up our books to them and said, hey, we want to spend $200,000 a month with you, but you're capping us at 50. So we're going to have to go over here to this other supplier, which is fine, but we would rather build a relationship with you. We like you. We want to continue this. And so we struggle with that those people have to make, smart business decisions when they're giving people credit terms. That yielded us some long-term relationships. We finally got the ball moving with that. Some of the other things that would slow us down were, again, kind of credibility. Yep. We wanted to go build relationships with multifamily communities and, get into some bigger opportunities. We wanted to go talk to HOA directors and presidents of HOAs from communities that had gotten smashed by hail. And going to a person like that, and you're talking big dollar figures, they want to see your resume. They want to see your brag sheet. Yeah. And we didn't have it. We were, a year and a half, 2 years old. So we just had to continue, knocking on the doors and continue bringing in talent, dealing with the stuff that would go along with that. We joke about it, but draws is a big thing. We were big proponents of it, and we wanted to give people opportunities to succeed. And every once in a while you get burned. You give somebody a draw, you hope and pray that they're going to come back the next day. We had a lot of success with that, and we still to this day have a lot of success stories where some people, wanted to be a part of something bigger than themselves and needed a little bit of help. And so that's another kind of mission statement for us, is we are here to help, not just with the customer, not just with the storm, but with our people. So that's some of the struggles, and those things still occur today. We're just getting better at how to deal with those things.
Yeah, my little takeaways there are: sales is not for people who hate money. Number one, focus on relationships, and you establish trust and credibility through consistency. When did those bigger opportunities start to turn into revenue? And you mentioned 2 years in, they weren't, they knew you were there, but they didn't think you were serious. They needed to see more. How did that start to turn into reality for you?
Sure. About summertime of 2017, our within our first year as partners, approximately 2 years in business, there was a hailstorm in the greater Denver area. And Sam literally went out there the day of the storm, found an office, bought some furniture, hired a manager, and we were open for business in Southeast Denver out of a city called Centennial. There was a bunch of storm damage there. And we took some of our sales guys from DFW out there and set up shop. We were storm chasers. We set up shop out there, started recruiting salespeople, and we called the suppliers. Hey, we have an office now in Denver. Who's our rep out here? We need shingles. We got, orders, blah, blah, blah. And so slowly but surely, those people started opening their eyes and giving us more opportunity. We were always interested in bigger deals. We had some experienced people on our team that had adjuster backgrounds, other people that had sales backgrounds and had customer relationships already built. And we were basically just the bank for those people. And, one apartment complex led into another one. That one would lead into another relationship, or this decision maker left that company and went and worked for this company, had worked with us in the past and called us for a small repair, and we massaged and matured those relationships. We would reinvest into the company. We bought, company trucks and got them wrapped so we could look more professional everywhere we went. We got better clothes and company apparel. We wanted to look the part, dress the part, and be exactly who we were. We continued our approach on social media with talking about what we're doing, not bragging and not being arrogant or egotistical, but showing factual information. And a lot of, we still had haters. And I think if you're doing shit right, you're always going to have haters. But a lot of the people who were questioning, what's going to happen with these guys, or let's see how long they hang around, they started, I don't want to say drinking the Kool-Aid, but they started joining us instead of hating on us. And so our next big challenge was going to find out who's doing things that we want to do and what could we learn from them. So we went and tried to schedule appointments with owners and operators of the largest roofing companies in the country. So we were cold calling. This how we met the CEO of Quick Roofing is we cold called him. We found his cell phone number. Sam made a relationship with Paul Reed at Northwest out in Colorado. We reached out to some people who are some really good friends of ours in Minnesota, a company called All Star. We reached out to these guys and wanted to learn. We wanted to not just tell them who we are and what we're doing, but we wanted to learn from their mistakes so we didn't make them as well.
So, mate, I'd love to focus on what you guys had done really well, and then sort of just, even if you could touch on a few of the struggles in your rapid growth with Crest.
Sure. One thing that we did well was introduce ourselves to people and try to get information. We were not afraid to go, knock on the doors of the biggest and best in our industry, because we wanted to learn not only what they're doing right, but what they're doing wrong. So we did a whole lot of that. We networked across the country with people that were, having success in this industry and been around for a long time. We really wanted to learn what are we doing wrong and what can we do better. We also spent a lot of time going to trade shows and events that were in our industry. That there's a lot of them now, and there was only a few when I started. And we got so much great information from the different trade shows that we would go to: technology, marketing, strategy. But the thing that separated us from our competition was our speed. I mentioned before, we stayed liquid as a company. Both Sam and I came from a previous career where we had made a good living. Gratefully, we weren't having to live paycheck to paycheck. So we were able to explore more things, and we would go hit a storm faster than anyone else. We would be boots on the ground, immediately after the storm, And then we weren't afraid to talk about it, and not just amongst each other, but socially and on the social media platforms. We would show up in a neighborhood with 30 guys and 30 trucks and 30 ladders and 50 crewmen ready to go, do emergency services. We would chase hurricanes with just as many people and go down and be somewhat of a first responder. I never want to take away from actual first responders, because those guys are one of a kind, and we support the ever loving out of them. But we would respond quickly to these storm events for obvious reasons. We learned something from one of the Nussbeck boys, that kind of we were talking about earlier. The first one to build in the storm wins the storm. And so we listened to those people that were giving us free knowledge and free information. So we put a plan together months before any storm happened. We can't predict the weather. We just knew exactly what we were going to do. We had hailstorms hit at 10 o'clock at night. I've been on roofs at midnight when it's still raining, helping people tarp roofs and signing contracts in the kitchen at midnight. We would react fast, and with our marketing, that would make the phone ring. We would attract what we were looking for. We would attract the type of customer that wanted a reputable company that could react fast and that could do the job quickly, and then so they could get on with their lives. And so I don't want to say we perfected that, but we set somewhat of a standard of how we were going to operate in the future with, storm reaction time. Again, bought a large camper, wrapped it with our company logo on it, the storm response team. We bought more vehicles. We wanted to make a presence when we were in a neighborhood to where people wouldn't say, "Oh, you've only been in business 3 years. I'm not going to use you." We still hear that today. "Oh, you've only been in business 7 years. Well, we're not going to use you. We're going to use someone else." That stuff doesn't happen anymore just because of the way you show up and present. So that was one of the things that sped up the growth. Another thing, it sounds simple, but it's really not. It is simple to do, but so many people forget it. It's one word: integrity. You have to pay your people right. You have to pay them fairly. You have to pay them properly. You have to pay them on time. Again, coming from collections, this may sound odd to some, but we've never written a bad check, and we've never missed a commission day, ever. And we take pride in that. These people that will go out and wear your badge, wear your company information, and go out and sell your service, they deserve every dollar that they earn. And so that was another, thing that we've maintained, and it was really a no-brainer for me. I told you earlier about accountability was a passion of mine. Those things helped our growth, and we ran into other opportunities where we would meet other people that wanted to be on the team, that wanted to swing the bat for us. They wanted to be on a Super Bowl winning team. They wanted to hang out with us and go make money together and change their lives or enhance their lives to even more. We've had the privilege of getting talented folks, not just on the sales side, but inside our office. We have so many trusted employees inside the office that never get the limelight. Accounting, people that answer the phone, the production team, people that process payroll and accounts payable. Those things are all part of it too. And as you get bigger, whether you're a startup or you want to be a $10 million company, if you don't have those things outlined, you're going to struggle even more. We kind of went as we go. We went as we went, if you will. Those are things that helped us, get along that. We had a lot of desire. We stumbled a lot. We didn't ever second guess ourselves. It was mostly like ready, fire, aim. We sniffed around every little thing we could to try and find out what is going to be unique about us. How can we make ourselves smarter? How can we get better? And we kept working hard and smart. I'm not a fan of that saying, work smarter, not harder. I think you got to do both until you don't have to do either.
Absolutely. And one thing you mentioned there, simple, but nowhere near enough people do it, is paying your people on time, every time, paying them well, investing in them. And that's something that you and Sam have not just done well, but done as a market leader, an industry leader. And after speaking with hundreds and hundreds of different roofers, it's so common, you hear it so often, where a sales rep or someone within a business, maybe a partner, someone gets screwed over, and you guys have, you've gone the complete opposite of that, and you've put your life and journey on display, both social media, but acting in integrity also, which leads me into the next thing I'd love to touch on, which is, you've had plenty of experience with either acquiring other companies, or dealing with other companies, and also merging yourself. What do you see, or what do you notice when you're looking at other roofing companies? Maybe they're reaching out to you; they want to be a part of what what you've got going on.
We see a lot. There's a
Yeah,
lot of different scenarios, and most of it's not over the top negative. But what we found most commonly, Crest Exteriors and Apple Roofing LLC, we were both acquired by Gage Capital out of Southlake, Texas. They are our partner, and they
wow,
acquired both
okay,
of our companies the same. We were very close in revenue and EBITDA and all those fancy terms. And so we merged together, and our goal was and is continuing to be more M&A. We've looked at 50 different businesses that are in the 10 million to 50 million range, and we've gotten intimate with more than half of them, where they get to the part where you have to open up the books.
yeah,
And the most common thing is people aren't making as much money as they think they were making in reference to bottom line dollars. And I'm not talking at all about, people that are flaunting this or flaunting that. That's not what I'm talking about. A lot of people don't understand, general accounting practices, and they don't necessarily understand what their bottom dollars are, what they're making. Yeah, their CPA may have told them they made this, but a lot of them, the most common thing was people didn't know how much they were making. They would say, "Hey, we're making X," and after a deep dive into the accounting process, it would come out less than that, and so that would kill the deal in most times. It doesn't mean those aren't good people and that we wouldn't consider them down the road, but that's the most common thing. We've been super fortunate with the 2 acquisitions that we have captured and fully closed with them, because they weren't just financially strong, but their personnel, the founders, the leaders, and the personnel are just extremely great people. And it almost seems like from a pattern, the companies that have all of their things in order have the best people that are working for them.
yeah,
That maybe that's just a fluke, but I really feel strongly that the best businesses in America have the best people that work for them. And the owners, the leaders, the operators are not always the smartest ones. It's their people that make that. So that kind of answers that.
yeah,
It's very challenging because, and I'm not involved day to day on the M&A. My role in this organization is, you may find this shocking, but is accounts receivable, estimating, supplementing, customer service. And I am in a sales background, but we have other leaders in this team that are, heading up the sales arena. The supplementing process is a whole different podcast. We can talk about that sometime. It's been really challenging because let's say we have a 10-step checklist for a potential acquisition. By the time that they make it step 6, there's a lot of time invested, and if it ends up not working out, that can feel like a huge time bend. If you get intimate with a business who's interested in what we're doing and wanting to be a part of it, and you make it all the way to like step 6 or step 7, and then find out it's not a match, that's a lot of time and resources consumed. So that's what we've seen a lot. And we're learning from experts who have been doing the M&A stuff for some time. That's not something that we're experts in, but we're getting better with every meeting. That's some of the biggest struggles we've seen, is people just they think their business is worth one thing, and they find out hard truths or hard facts that it's worth less. There's only been a couple that were, exactly what we thought they were. And 2 of those select few were ones that we were able to partner with and acquire.
What would your advice be to the roofing company, or to any business owner for that fact too? How did you guys, know your numbers and understand that side of the business?
Good question. Sam's background, as I mentioned before, he had an accounting degree. very good with numbers, and he's a habitual studier about something that he wants to learn about. And so I have to give him the majority of that credit with our business. He found some meeting with some of those CEOs and business owners that we were targeting. We were learning more information from them about what does next level playing field look like? What is the next step from growing from a small business to a medium-sized business to a large business? And the most common thing we were told is get your accounting in order. Yeah. Know what your business is worth. So there were several steps that we had to take as a company, switch from cash-based accounting to accrual, and, get certified books. And that goes even further when you get into the M&As getting closed. So that was a big step for us. It cost us several $100,000 as a $25 or $30 million business. We were putting several $100,000 of our net profit, basically our take-home pay, we were putting back into the business to certify us. Not that we needed a certification to put a plaque on the wall, but we wanted to know if we're going to go try and swing for the fences here, if we're going to go try and be a big boy business, we better have our ducks in a row or we're going to get laughed out of the room, literally. Yeah. So for people that are thinking about doing that, they have to go through that pain. And I say pain because not only do we have to go spend that money, Matt, and spend the time not only to research it and develop it, sound like Prestige Worldwide there, but we had to keep our business running and producing. We couldn't go backwards, and knock on wood, our revenue never went backwards in the 6 years we were independently Crest Exteriors. We always had gain. And that was because of our work ethic and all of those steps that we've kind of talked about in here. So my advice to anybody who's looking to do that is go find the experts and hire them. You can't afford not to, because if you get down that 10-step list and you get to step 6, you're going to be really pissed off because you spent a lot of time and money to get to that point. And if you can't make it like past step 6 or step 7, which is where the deep dive into your books, you're going to be really mad. Yeah. And because you feel like you wasted time, and it's not free either. It's real dollars that it costs you to go do that. And so it was a gamble. There were many times we did this for about 2.5 years before we finally, put our deal together with Gage. There were many times where I was like, man, that head trash in my head or that negativity in my head was thinking, I'm not sure if this is going to be worth it or not. We're reinvesting into our business, but there's nothing promised. But we kept on, and we were, I don't want to say lucky. I think we put in the work to get where we're at. Yeah, we get a little lucky here and there, but luck is where hard work meets opportunity. So we were in the right place, had the right uniform on. We were ready. We had the stripes under our eyes. We had new cleats. We were ready for battle, and we won the war. The first one. Now we got 3 or 4 more coming up. That's my advice to people that are looking for that, though.
That's fantastic advice. All right, we've had a few technical difficulties, but we are back. We don't take shit. We drink from skulls. We were never going to lay down. So thanks for hanging in there with me, Logan. Mate, I want to talk a little bit about something that's very unique and something that's kind of, it's come into the roofing space now. Private equity, mergers and acquisitions. I'd love to hear about how you've found that experience and what roofers and companies need to do to be set up, to be positioned, to have that happen.
Sure. Well, if you were to ask a layman, about why private equity companies would want to get involved in any industry, the folks that make up the private equity sector, for the most part, those people are very, very intelligent. They're very business savvy, very good with money. They understand more about business on accident than most people do on purpose. And so their attraction, in my opinion, is it's a very, very, very good financial opportunity. And so they look to invest private money into something where they can get a return. They have a little bit more control over it than something that is an opportunity for a public type investment. And I do have to give credit where credit is due. My business partner, Sam, all through the Crest Exteriors venture, his mind is just he's got the biggest brain on a human that I've ever seen, and it just never stops. He's very talented, very creative. And so we stumbled upon some friends in the industry in the northern part of the United States that had been involved in a very lucrative private equity venture. They shared some information with us. We spent the next 18 months or so. This was back in 2018, 2019. We spent the next 18 months doing our own research and kind of understanding what is that world about, and getting our business ready for something that could end up being attractive to a private equity firm. And there was a lot that goes into that, so I won't bore you with all that, but that's kind of how it started. And the more hands you shake, the more money you make. The more people that you can visit with and learn from, the more opportunities can fall into your lap. Some of them you gotta scratch, claw, and bite to get to. Others can literally fall into your lap. So we tried to put ourselves in a position where we could get a seat at those tables, have a conversation with some of those people. And the first event that we tried to participate in, for lack of better words, it didn't go through. There was 18 months of time and experience and a whole lot of money spent to get ready for that. Getting your books clean and making sure that you can pass an audit from those folks, and you can explain where every dollar in and every dollar out has come from or went to. That's the type of audit those folks perform. And so the first one that we went through, 18 months worth of work put into it, it just didn't work out. It wasn't the end of the world, but it just didn't work out. But it was a learning experience for us. We got a lot of education, and the hardest part was keeping our business running. Being able to have a core group of people that can keep your business running while you're working on some projects like that to grow is very important, because you can't just put the whole business on hold while you go focus on this over here to learn about it. So following that first one, the second one obviously went well. It worked out for us, and we're 18 months past that closing date. And there was an 18-month period before that closing date of putting that deal together. So I don't know, doing rough math here, 5.5 years, or the past 4.5 or 5.5 years would be my experience in it. There's others out there that have more, but that's a good amount. And like you said, it's no secret that this space is a very interesting space for private equity. I know of 3 other major groups outside of our group that are actively that have purchased some companies and are actively pursuing more. And it's good to see, because I think it's helpful for the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. We won't go into it too deeply, but if you could share one big takeaway, other than you need your team to be able to function without you, what would it be to be ready for private equity?
If there's one takeaway, you got to be ready to be honest with yourself, because you can tell everybody you want to tell about how many roofs you replaced and how much revenue you did. But when it comes down to it and you get your final numbers, you're gonna have to be able to swallow what those final numbers are. A lot of people in any industry, not just roofing, but in any industry, they think they're doing X amount of revenue, or they think they're making X amount of profit. They think that their annual earnings are this number. And until it gets audited to make sure that you didn't overlook something, it is whatever you imagine it to be. So that's the biggest takeaway for me, was realizing that when those audits took place, we got a clear dose of our own medicine of where we were really at, which allowed us to focus more on maintaining that growth. Because it doesn't matter how much revenue you do. What matters is the profit. And after you pay Uncle Sam, what's the real take home? And then what are you able to do with that money to help grow your business? Because 1 or 2 good years in the business is great, but then what? You got the whole rest of your life you got to pay attention to.
Absolutely. That's a great share, man. Just want to ask, like, if you had your time over again and you were starting up a roofing company, what would you do differently? Like, how would you approach it, knowing what you know now?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind is I would approach it more aggressively than we did.
Yeah,
we were what we thought to be pretty aggressive at the time in reference to our marketing and our sales approach, and how good of a customer service representation we wanted to make our business be. I think that if I had to start all over again, I would double down on that, and heck, even 10x it. I would try to be more of a customer service friendly business. I would try to be more of an employee eccentric business. I would try to be more aggressive and assertive with my marketing and how I capture leads and how I bring people to the table to know who our company was. It's even more competitive now than it was then. But if you take a road and you stick with that road, you'll have success. I think a lot of people would fail because they hit one road and then it forks this way, it goes that way. They try different things and they can't get to one. So my takeaway would be get more aggressive, man. Drink from more skulls.
That's cool. Yeah, drink from more skulls. And that's cool to hear you say, because you guys were, the growth that you experienced and engineered was, in a lack of words, insane. The way you recruited, the way you attacked the market and built the company very, very quickly. So you'd get even more aggressive. That's so cool to hear. We haven't really done this before, but you shared you've got some questions for me. So if you want to shoot away, hit me with them.
Well, for sure, man. First off, I said it earlier, and I will say it again. And anytime I'm in passing with any of the folks from Apex or anybody else that knows who you are, I just want to express my gratitude to you and what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're not only delivering a good product, but you're entertaining, man. And one day when our paths meet in person, we'll be able to celebrate for that. So, kind of going back to just a few things that I had. I want to know how you and maybe your family was involved too, but how did you come about being either the self-proclaimed or the Australian recognized best hair in your country? I really need to know the answer to that.
Best hair in the country. Yeah, great question. It's a funny story, really. I got into advertising and marketing 5 or 6 years ago now. I was building commercial cleaning and renovation here where I live, and I met Andrew Ammons and Tim Nussbeck, and I was advertising for that business, and it was doing really, really well. So they hit me up to do some stuff with them, and it was in that experience that I learned that roofers hate marketers, contractors have this thing with them because they talk so much shit, they lie, they make things up. So I'm like, okay, well, if they're going to say all this bullshit, I'm going to tell people I've got the greatest hair on Facebook. And I just kept saying it. I just started saying I've got tremendous hair. I'm the second greatest redhead in the world. I have the greatest hair on Facebook. Then I'm like, how do I double down on this? Because people thought it was kind of funny. It was memorable. It was catching people's attention. So I did a post where I won an award for having the greatest hair on Facebook. And it was funny because it triggered so many people. They're like, yeah, it's not even that good. Who gave this award? I'm like, I fucking made it up. I gave it to myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the power of social media. So it's kind of like a play on just giving people shit and having fun. But it was the actual marketing lesson was if you're consistent and you say the same thing over and over and over again, people will start to remember it and it becomes like an anchor. So when anytime someone talks about having hair or anything hair related, skull related, they think of me. So I've got all these little anchors sitting out in the world that make people think of me, and it's super powerful. It could work for anyone as long as you get it right.
Yeah, hey, I compliment that. When we were young in our business, we're still young in our business, man. Sam and I celebrated 7 years of partnership this year.
Wow,
and
congrats!
Almost 2 with the Apple brand. So we've got a lot to learn too. But just complimenting on what you said, we made our name.
There you go.
Pretty quick, and we stuck with it. And we caught a lot of flack from it. People would laugh about it. People would use their Mike Tyson lisp when they would say Kreth Huthel, and people would laugh about it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We that's motivation. But they would also wear the bracelet. So I don't know. So sticking with one thing and building your brand, that's really good. That's important.
Yeah.
The only other question I had, man, we could talk on for hours on different topics. The only other question I had is, when are we going to see you in the United States? Or when are we going to get a formal invitation to Australia?
The formal invite to Australia is always there. With the US, I'm really looking forward to getting there. It'll probably be next year now because my wife's pregnant, so. Yeah. So with our second little one, I had planned to come. We were going to come over this year, but because she's now pregnant and sort of halfway through, we're going to going to see that out and stay safe here. With everything that's happened in the past few years, there's been next to no international travel. It's all back in order now. Right. So yeah, that's sort of the thing that stopped me, but I'm definitely going to get over there next year, come to some events and meet everyone. It'll be great.
We'll keep our eye out, man. We definitely need some FaceTime. I know you got a lot of fans over here, and a lot of people would want to visit with you and catch up.
Yeah, for sure. We'll drink from some skulls. We'll have some beers, some wings, do some American stuff. I'll get a hat. It'll be great. Big cowboy hat.
Yes, sir. Speaking of doing the cultural stuff, I read this thing yesterday, and we can turn it off after this. When a kangaroo is in a pond and he's staring at you, does that really mean they're ready for you to come in and fight?
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, that's true. Because they're so good on their hind legs, they'll drown you pretty quick. So you don't want to play their game.
Any of your buddies go toe to toe with one?
Yeah, I've got a few buddies that hunt them and stuff like that. They're pretty hectic. I've got heaps of kangaroos where I live, which is it's not actually that normal, even though there's 40 or 50 million kangaroos in Australia, but you'd never see them unless you get out to the country. They're not in the big cities or anything. So
sure.
Yeah. But yeah, they're pretty hectic. I would avoid them if you could.
I would too. I would not be interested in going toe to toe with them.
They love a good brawl, I'll tell you that.
Hey man.
They normally run away though, to be fair. They see you, they bounce off and Well, thanks, my man. If people want to connect with you, if they want to talk about, roofing, sales, private equity, anything that you can provide some value with, where would be the best place to find you?
Sure. I operate on two social media platforms. That's really it. Mostly Facebook, but sometimes Instagram. And it's the same handle on both, Logan E. Graff, easily found there. I can communicate through Messenger or chat. And if folks want to reach out and set up meetings, I'm happy to do that as well. Like I said earlier, the more people that I can meet, the more ideas that I could create. In reference to roofing, you can find us at appleroof.com. We're working on getting in more states, but we're working in about 20 states now. So We're moving around the country a lot. Easiest way is Facebook. Second easiest way is on our website and then through email.
Awesome. And that'd be a great place for people that are looking for an opportunity work-wise, whether it be sales or any one of the, many different roles that you would no doubt be looking for quality people. I guess it all starts with a conversation. So if they connect with you, they can go through the right channels there too. Is that right?
For sure. Yeah, we're always looking for good sales folks that are just good with customer service and communication. You don't even have to be good at sales. If you're good at communication, there's lots of opportunities in this industry.
Awesome. Before we wrap up, what's the question I should have asked you but didn't?
I wrote that one down. Actually, you already kind of answered it, I think, but I'll ask it anyways. How does one like me become to have the world's best hair in North America?
Based on my marketing knowledge, you would need to win an award. Now, how you win that award is really up to you, whether you can get creative with it. For me, I literally just did a Facebook post about how I won a tough but fair battle for winning the award for greatest hair on Facebook. So I suggest you do the same. Then you just keep telling people that you've won that award, and within a short period of time, they'll start thinking that it's true.
Yes, recognition, baby. That's great stuff, man.
Well, thank you for sharing some time with the I Drink From Skulls podcast crew. You've been amazing. And look out for our next episode, and we will drink from some skulls with you next time. Cheers.